Hi, I'm Kevin Daly, and I'm a steering leader with the Tucson Crime-Free Coalition. And here I have Adrian Wurr, and he is with the
Hedrick Acres Neighborhood
Hedrick
Association.
Acres Neighborhood Association, who maintains this park in the Navajo Wash. And we're here to talk about today a little bit about the lawsuit that just got discussed in court and completed this last week. So, Adrian,
Yeah.
what was the gist of the lawsuit?
Largely, we are saying that the city has been maintaining a public nuisance in this park by not maintaining it. So they have allowed the homeless camps to come and stay. Those homeless camps create trash, they create sewage, they create fires, which have smoke, which carries into the neighborhood. They have violent outbursts, and they steal. They steal from the neighborhood. They steal from the U of A students' cars. So we feel that the city should do something about it to enforce the laws on the books.
So let's go back to the court case, and let's say, were there any surprises?
Well, yeah, there were quite a few of them. And one of them that I think is not well known publicly is just how much support the city is giving to the homeless. They provide the tents and the tarps. They provide food. They provide water. They provide blankets. They provide clothes. They provide medical care. I have no idea how much all of that costs, but it was surprising to me because we never knew who was giving them the tents, and that made this area much, much worse. When the tents came, the homeless could stay year-round, and they do. Before the tents were given out so abundantly, the homeless during the summer would leave because it would get too hot for them. They couldn't tolerate it, but now they're year-round.
Would you call TPD? Did you discover anything about TPD's involvement in
Well,
this?
there's some history in that, yeah. So the original homeless outreach team in the police department was headed by Sergeant Jusling, and we generally found them pretty receptive. For example, they had a firm rule: no fires in the wash, because we have, very nearby multi-story apartment buildings and residential housing.
I'd like to note that there's residue from fires there. It looks like in those rocks.
Yeah. So Jusling would, and his officers would tell the homeless to leave if they had fires. Then the protocol switched over to this main office, the multi-agency homeless protocol office, and the police were removed from the loop. And we felt that it definitely was taking 2 steps backwards at that point, because we got no responses. We would report the homeless camps, and it went into this bureaucratic black hole. Mm-hmm. We never heard anything. They've gotten better, and they now acknowledge receipt of the reports, but they don't do anything. I mean, obviously, we've been having this problem for 5 years now.
Adrian, what did you learn at the trial about the number of residents of unhoused are taking the opportunity for services that are offered?
The statistic we heard at the trial was about 90% refuse assistance. So they'll take blankets, they'll take clothing, but they don't want to go into a shelter on that.
So what kind of activity do you see out here?
You see a lot of drugs. In the court, the waste management said they're all intoxicated, and that's for sure. A camp right here, I cleaned up after a weekend 3 guys, and there was over 100 syringe needles. We were shoveling them up into garbage cans. we always see the fentanyl foil.
Has the city of Tucson, you know, you're bringing up syringes, has the city of Tucson ever given you any training or advice about how to manage needles?
No, but we give our volunteers that advice.
Oh.
We say, assume there are needles. So don't go, grabbing like the garbage cans, emptying that with bare hand.
So, you come home each day, and I mean, what does it feel like? I mean, as personally? I mean, can you describe?
It's frustrating. It's frustrating. We've lived here for 25 years, and many of our neighbors more. We just had our neighborhood meeting in the Wash on Sunday, and there was a neighbor who'd been here 37 years living in the area. And so people are vested in the area, and they remember that it wasn't always like this. People remember walking to the mini mart at night. They won't do that. So yeah, there's a feeling of frustration, a little bit of fear too. When we go on vacation, we sneak out the back now. My wife doesn't like to leave because she worries that if we leave, the homeless, they can see us just as well as we can see them, that they're going to know we're going and they're going to come over and rob and pillage our property like they do the mailboxes throughout the neighborhood.
So a couple minutes ago, some young students, two female young students, probably, what would you say, 19, 20, were walking to their car after, I think, being dropped off by the cat tran. Can you relate what they shared with us?
Yeah, well, they were as frustrated as we are about the conditions in the Wash. They pay quite a bit for a parking permit, for the privilege to park there, and they don't feel safe parking there sometimes when they come home at night. As I pointed out, the street lights are often out. We know from the U of A police report for going back 2 years that there have been break-ins in the car, that students have been assaulted. So I understand the fear of those women. I think it's well justified.
So, Adrian, back to the lawsuit again. What was the outcome that you asked for, and how did the city respond? Were there also some intermediate steps that before it actually went to trial?
Right. Yeah. In the original complaint that we filed, we asked for homeless camps to be banned from this property, or in the city's jargon, to make it a tier 3. And we did that simply because it would restore it to the intentional uses that the master plan had described. The city responded when we went to negotiate. The judge required us to do pretrial negotiations. They said, if you want to dictate policy, then run for public office. But otherwise, we get to decide how we're going to manage the property. And so they were not interested in making a ban on it. Interestingly, the City of Phoenix said the same thing. And the judge there said, you may decide how you remedy a situation, but you do not get to decide if you enforce the laws. So the policy is, how do you enforce the laws, not if you enforce the laws. So we're asking them to enforce the laws and to keep the homeless out of this wash.
How did the trial end?
Well, we're waiting.
Okay, and
so the judge has heard all the evidence and his arguments. He has a recommended 60 days to release his decision, but they aren't held to that. So he could say he needs more time, and we could be here a year from now and still not have a decision. But I'm hoping that we'll hear something by June, and that will have some legal clarity on how this property is going to be managed in the future, so that we can start, moving forward with getting it back to the way it was.
Well, thank you again.
Yeah.